feel like you're like one of the pioneers, right, of what YouTube can offer. Because you started your YouTube channel in 2000.
January of 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so how did that happen? Like, because you were still going and you still had people who were questioning and you were doubting yourself. What made you still keep going and keep moving forward in that direction?
Yeah, here's the strange thing, Deirdre. Like, you'd think if I was trying to get client work, I would, I don't know, either run some ads or try to just promote myself as the service provider.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, and I really just think God just gave me this idea, and I'm really grateful because I went in a totally different direction. I decided to educate people. I decided to, like, if you're trying to record music, here's how you do it well. And I would use my client's work as an example, like, hey, let me show you how we made her vocals sound better. Let me show you how we got those drums to sound like this. And in a strange twist of fate, what that's doing, it's a brilliant model that everyone's doing today, and I actually teach people today, but I was realizing it was educating positions you as an authority. It gives people instant results. It's free. And now they think you're amazing because you help them accomplish something. And it actually started to build this little audience. I actually got client work from it, but I could tell early on in a few months on YouTube that there was this hunger for this. Like, no one's teaching us these secrets. Like, every niche it's finally becoming exposed online, but around 2010 still, people weren't sharing whatever their industry secrets were in any niche. It was all, and so this has all been exposed with the internet. And so I guess I was one of the pioneers in the music space, the technology space of like, hey, here's how they get this sound on all the records you're hearing. This is what they do. And people were not sharing that information. And I wasn't trying to expose, I was just trying to help people.
Right.
And I think people were like, oh, thank you, I'm so glad. And so they kept asking for more videos and more videos. So I wasn't making money, but I could tell that there was a hunger for this. And any entrepreneur knows that's what you need. You need to sense that there's a hunger for what you have and the audience is there. If you can get an audience, you can monetize it in a million different ways. But if no one's interested in what you're doing, it doesn't matter how perfect the pricing is or how great the product is. Nobody cares.
So when you started using YouTube though, how has that changed, or how has the model of YouTube also changed since the time you started using it and today?
So that's a great question. You hit the nail on the head. This is the way I think about YouTube, and traditional YouTubers don't think about YouTube this way. So traditional YouTubers are like the people you think about that are unboxing kids' toys videos and they're getting a million subscribers. That it's entertainment, right? So YouTube can be great for entertainment.
Right.
The problem with that model is you need tons of eyeballs, and then you make your money primarily from advertising revenue, or if you can create merch and people want it, then you're great. But entrepreneurs should be using YouTube as a discovery tool. It is a search engine. So it's the number 2 website people go to every day next to Google. They're both search engines. So it's Google, YouTube, and then everything else. So that's where everyone's going. Why should they not find you there? They should find you there. So YouTube is a great place to be discovered. So every time I post a piece of content, I'm banking on the fact that somebody is searching that topic or those exact words. From day one, I used it for searchable stuff, because I figured, how would anybody find it if I didn't make videos on what they were typing into YouTube? That made sense to me. And today that hasn't changed. So I still use it primarily as a discovery tool. So people hear about me. And then from there, I can easily build trust and credibility in one video. If the right person finds it and they connect with my personality, they're going to get a ton of value out of it because I offer really good stuff for free. I don't tease anything. I just give you really good stuff. And then from there, and this is the key, and we can go here if you want to, the big mistake people make with YouTube if they want to build a business, they always want the person watching to like and subscribe and leave comments. And that's one call to action to kind of create engagement. And that has value. But to build your business, you really need them to actually leave YouTube and get on your email list so that you can offer them products and services and follow up with them wherever they go, because they may not come back to your YouTube channel ever again. So I'm always getting discovered on YouTube, adding value, offering them something valuable in exchange for their email address. And then now I own the relationship, not YouTube, not Facebook, not TikTok. And now I can contact them directly, follow up with them. Usually it's automated. I offer a course or a product, or even if you have a service, you could offer a discovery call for your coaching or your services, but it's all happening now directly, no middleman.
I love that. And that's so key. What is your best tip on having that conversion where they are like, you've given them value, you've given them some resources, and you've established your authority, and now you're like, okay, come and join me on my email list. How do you do that? Like, what is it that practically, tangibly, are you putting a link in there in your notes, or like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing you don't do is you don't say join my email list,
Right.
right? So some people think, I'm not saying you're saying that, but that's what people think like,
true.
oh, I got to get, that's what you want. You want them to join your list, but that's not what they want. So because nobody wants more email.
No.
But what they want is more solutions to their problems. So what I literally offer them generally is a PDF of some kind. It might be a cheat sheet or a checklist. It might be a multi-step guide. Sometimes I offer a free video workshop, but it's something that the promise is so clear and obvious. It's another piece of content that they absolutely have to have. Like, oh, dude, of course I want that. That's amazing. And so I give them a link. I tell them the link. I usually either buy a easy to remember URL for $10 a year from GoDaddy or something, or I have like my website / one word. I tell it to them so it's easy to remember. I link to it in the description of the video. Actually, that's the first thing I mention in the description above the fold, so they don't have to like click see more to see the link. I make that the very first thing. I make it a card in the video so that can fly over the moment I say it. They can click on it and that'll link away. And then I mentioned it at the end of the video, or I link to it with an end screen because you can link to a website as well. And I mentioned that either at the beginning and end of the video or just at the end of the video if it feels more natural, but it's a natural continuation of the conversation. Like, hey, if this was helpful, I've got an entire cheat sheet on whatever. So like you might have like a LLC forming cheat sheet. Like here's the 10 things you got to know before you form your LLC. Like if it's a no-brainer piece of content, they're going to want to download it. And I just mention the URL, tell them to click on it. That's my only call to action. I'm not asking them to like the video. I'm not asking them to subscribe. They'll do that naturally. And I know I'm giving up more likes and subscribes by not telling them that, but what I'm gaining is the relationship, and I can make so much more money privately just selling to them directly, like you said, and not banking on them sticking around on YouTube or YouTube even letting my channel stick around, because you never know. They can
you never
shut you
know.
out.
It's not yours. And I think that's such a misnomer that people have. Oh, but it's a public place. Yeah, it's a public place because they've opened up to the public, but not because it's owned by the public or the government.
Nope. It's somebody else's sandbox. Building your business on social media or YouTube, whatever, is like renting someone else's house. The landlord could kick you out at any point. It's like building your business in someone else's playground. Like you want to own your business and the relationship. Use the tools to get discovered, maybe use the tools to engage, but you always want to draw them over to your email list because then you can directly connect with them.
But I also know that when I was reading a little bit about you, it said that no one really discovered your channel at the time in the beginning. So how did you create traction? How did you create, hi, I'm here, come join me in my party over here?
That's a great question. So I think a couple things that really helped in the early, because it was slow at the beginning. And one of these relates to a principle I have when it comes to creating content or sharing anything online, which is to be polarizing. Not be a jerk. Not like I hate that language now because in the last couple of years, people have gotten crazy on the internet. When I mean polarizing, I don't mean to be mean. I mean to be very clear and strong about your opinions. Stand for something and stand against something else. Most content is the same. Everyone's got the same articles, the same videos on the same topics in your niche. It's already been done before, but the good news is it's all boring and it's all the same. So to stand out, you have to be willing to own your opinions. So that always helps your content stand out a bit more. And one example for me early on was in the audio technology space or equipment space, there's a microphone company or an audio company called Behringer. And they're a Chinese company owned by a German guy, and they make really budget, really affordable stuff. What they literally do is copy all the high-end equipment, and they make a cheap version in China. And it's great for home studio people starting out because it's all they can afford, but it's always made fun of as if it's really bad quality. And what's funny to me early on in audio recording was I didn't think it was bad quality at all. Sometimes it wouldn't last very, very long, but the sound quality was fantastic, and I could get really good recordings with it. So I was starting to make some content online, and I even tweeted about it. And I made fun of people who make fun of this company, which is really weird because everybody makes fun of this company. And I was one, and I tagged them in Twitter or whatever there, and I said, look, if you're making fun of this company, and I tagged them, you're just a gear snob. It just means that you aren't talented enough to actually make a good recording with budget equipment. So I'm not saying you have to use it, but I can make a good recording with it. Why can't you? And so it got some buzz. And then Behringer, the company, loved that somebody was sticking up for them. They didn't know who I was. They didn't care, but I was saying good things about them. And they reached out to me on Twitter, and their social media person, who I ended up becoming friends with years later, he works at a different company now, but reached out to me and said, we love what you're doing. You obviously are really supportive of our brand. Would you be willing to do a couple of blog posts on our website? and we'd email out to our list of 1 million people. I was like, how about I do an 8-part blog post series and you email out that 8 times? Oh, sure. So I just created some content that I'd already done and I tweaked it for them. And now they're emailing out 1 million people to their website, but with my name, and I got to link to my website below. And so I was starting to get some exposure by doing some collaborations like that, by being polarizing, by making some friends in the industry. Were looking for any kind of guerrilla marketing because they were looking for blogs. They were looking for smaller channels. And some brands are who don't have the big budgets or want to like do it more guerrilla style and get through these other channels. So it was a great partnership. And that was one of the great things that I did early on that got me some exposure to that crowd that really wanted my content.
Oh, wow. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. Just some fun facts. So what is your favorite book aside from the one that you're going to be writing?
Oh, fair enough. I would say The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. It's a sales book teaching you how to like sell more, but it's really a business book, but it's written like a parable, like a little story. You can read it in 1 hour. It's phenomenal. It will change the way you think about your business and interacting with the world. It's all about generosity as a tool for just explosive growth in your business. It's fabulous.
Okay, lovely. I'm going to add that to my pile of books that I have. Awesome. And what is your anchor when things just aren't working your way anymore and you're just feeling really defeated? What's your anchor at that time and how do you pull yourself back up?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like my Christian faith is intertwined in everything I do. So it informs who I am, why I exist, and what my business is even trying to do. So that's huge for me, my faith in Jesus. And then really, dude, my wife, Shay, she's amazing. Having someone who has walked through the ups and downs of business over the years and who understands, that some days are really hard and some days are great. So I can celebrate with her and things that I can't really talk about publicly, and I can vent with her and she listens well. And if you don't have like that friend or that spouse that's like just there when you need to talk about things, good or bad, I don't know how you operate. So that she's been amazing.
Yes, seriously, like kudos to every single partner that is the best cheerleader out there.
Absolutely.
So I have one of them too. So I'm just so thankful to God for that as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We learned so much. How can people contact you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah. So you can go to grahamcochrane.com. I have a bunch of free resources there. There's a whole workshop on the homepage that's free that walks you through this business model. If you're like, I'm really interested in either going in this direction, or if I have a service, I want to at least offer some kind of digital product element so I could scale my income a bit that way. That's all at grahamcochrane.com. It's the YouTube channel. I have a podcast called The Graham Cochrane Show if you like to listen to it that way on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And then I am on Instagram at The Graham Cochrane if you want to keep up on Instagram there.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge with us. And it was so much fun talking to you about YouTube and everything else.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.